Welcome to this tutorial on Ortelia Set Designer. In this tutorial what we're going to be doing is just looking at the interface and where everything is. Now the first time you enter Ortelia Set Designer you'll be greeted with something like this, a rather dark space which is the default theatre, and that's the Billy Brown Theatre in Brisbane. Now this is the main area that we work in, this whole area here. And then there's two other distinct areas in the software. One of them is the design panel here, and the other one is the file menus across the top here. So we'll deal with those first. So under file menus, we essentially have the common elements you'll see there. So this is to create a new design. This is to open an existing one, to save what you're doing, or to save it as a different name. Under here, you load space. So we'll just do that now and click on it, and we have two default theatres that come with the software. So we'll also just load this one quickly so you can get a look at that. And this one is an ancient Greek amphitheatre. Okay, so let's pop back to our original one, Billy Brown Theatre. Here we are. Finally, under the file menu we have screenshots, so you can just click this and generate a screenshot, or you exit the application. Under views, you can look at the view from ground level, which we're doing here, or you can look at the view from above, and you can pan and move around that view as well. So let's pop back to our ground view. Under display, you can turn props on and off, you can turn your lights on and off, measurements and notations. The window menu allows you to, if you click on design, this is for bringing this panel up. So if we close the design window like that, we can go back to window and bring it back up. We also have an asset list, so if you click this it'll bring up a list. Currently the prop list is empty, but that's anything that you've created or put into the current design. And finally we have the settings menu. Now this is for situations where if your hardware is not up to generating a high quality output, you can modify it with using low, medium or high. So for example, if you're working in low, what you can do is when you want to take a screenshot is switch to high and turn on the shadows. If you turn off shadows, that will also decrease the amount of computing resources required. And finally, we have the help menu, which will take you to the reference manual, to the Ortelia website, or tell you about which version you're working with. Okay, now the design panel. Now this is a floating panel. You can move it anywhere around the screen. And it's broken up essentially into 4 different tabs. This is the props tab. So under the props tab we can click on the icon and this will bring up a prop list which you can scroll through, and you can go look at it by categories, and you can also search. So if I was looking for a chair, I might go CHAIR and there's nothing there. So, and that's because I'm in the wrong section. So if I go to all and type in chair, now there's our chairs. So you can select from any one of these and it will replicate itself up here. You can leave this open while you're placing props, but we'll just close it for now. Also, when you have a prop selected, you can use these various inputs and manipulators for moving, rotating or scaling, and we'll look at that in more detail shortly. Under the lights tab, what you can do here is create lights, and you'll note that when you click it, if there is a lighting grid in the space, it will go red. And you can attach lights to that. You can set their angle, focus, intensity, rotation. You can change light colors. You can play with shutters and barn doors. And you can play with the ambient light within the space. So you may like to have the light up quite high when you're working. Under the tools menu we can set time of day. Now obviously this isn't valid in here because there are no windows, but if we were to load our other default theatre, we can actually play with the time of day, and the time of day is set to the correct geographic location. So let's do that one more time. You can also create measurements and notations by simply clicking the create button and then measuring what it is you want, and there it is. And you can create notations in the same manner by clicking that, and then by clicking in here you can type in whatever you want and you can save that work. Again, we have top view, and you can zoom out a little bit with that, and it's useful for when you're placing props on stage, and you can go back to your ground view. And finally, we have the theatre menu, and at the moment, because nothing is activated, there's nothing in that, but we'll get to that in a later tutorial. Okay, and that's pretty much all that's involved in the Ortelia Set Designer interface. So one more time, we have our design panel, we have our file menus, and then we have our main working area.